Hi, Nick and America. How are you both?
Great, guys. Really good to see you again. And
It
we're
is.
here in the lovely Oastbrook tasting room.
It's looking marvelous, and we've got 4 of your still wines today to go through. So before we dive in, I'm quite eager, being Friday afternoon, to have some wine. But I thought it'd be helpful to learn a bit more about yourselves, how you got into wine, and also your journey with the vineyard.
Okay, we did different journey to get into here. I'm from Brazil. My name is America, so I was born 4th of July. My dad gave me this name. I supposed to go to United States because born 4th of July. Then after the incident in September 11 happened, everything changed. I couldn't go to United States. I ended up coming here because a friend of mine said, "Why don't you go to London?" I said, "London, I know Henry VIII, John Boleyn, Catherine are going to go to London." But my background was in, I worked in a bank, an insurance company for 14 years, and I did translation and interpretation course. And then I came to improve my English in the United Kingdom. Met Nick in 2004. And then he said to me that I didn't know anything about England. He then had to take me to the countryside. So he took me to Ticehurst. There's a village very close to here. And then he said, "You're going to see proper English people. You're going to have to go to a proper English pub and you understand a little bit more about the culture." I fall in love. And then I decided to move and live in the countryside. But just when I gave birth in 2006, because Nick was working commodities before, we had to go out of the country. So we went to Geneva. We lived 2.5 years in Geneva. We moved to Hong Kong, 7 years in Hong Kong, and we came back.
Wow.
Why was I started to study French because my background was in language. And then we started to cross the border to visit lots and a lot of vineyards. So there where my passion just went over the roof. Because I always like grapes. My mom, when I was very young, she had little grapes on the back of her garden. And I used to go and grab all the green grapes there. So I was fascinated about green, acidity. And then I get to know a lot of small producers that gave me the chance to drive their tractor, to learn a little bit about wines. And then I saw the difference when I was going to big producers that they didn't have time for me. And then the small producers that you were like telling me everything. I was talking to the owner, I was talking to the vineyard manager, the winemaker. And then I learned a lot about that. So then we moved to Hong Kong, 7 years there, started to learn Chinese, so I speak a little bit Portuguese. And then when we came back to England, we decided to live in the countryside. I need to find a job. So I couldn't find any job because by the time I dropped my daughter at school, it's time to go back. So I then find out that just beside my house, we have a big vineyard. And I went to that to try to find a job. The guy did say with my high heels, I wouldn't last one day in the vineyard. And I said, "Look, I have a Land Rover, I'm a farmer. I didn't even know how to drive a Land Rover. I put the first gear, reverse it, almost kill his vines." He said, "No, I don't need you here." The following day I was dead again. I said, "Well, I came to work, I work for free." And then he said, "Okay, I teach you a little bit, but why don't you go and study in Plumpton College?" I didn't know anything about Plumpton College. I then called Nick and said, "Nick, what is Plumpton College?" He said, "Well, it's the biggest agriculture and viticulture place in the country." So I managed to get to Plumpton College. It was a fight to get there as well, because they want me to do the WSET. And I said to them that I have a field and then I want to plant a vineyard and make my own wine. And I said, "Oh, these big boys are doing that. Why I cannot step in and do myself?" So that was our journey camp. And then he said that I have to have A levels in chemistry, maths, and biology. I did a joke. I said, why I need chemistry, math, and biology to drink wine and then plant one vine? I'm already drunk here and I already have one vine planted. I was joking. But anyway, got into the course, but was very hard because it was a lot of thing about science. And
Yeah.
I did have to pay people to teach me. Nick helped me a lot because
I did some midnight tutoring there.
Yeah, and then grapevine biology became my strong subject. I became one of the top of the class, and then I started to do projects in Australia as Australian wine research. I then did the Effervescente du Monde. I became wine judge. I go to Dijon to do the Effervescente there. And then while we were doing that, we started to, Nick then get into the course in 2000, 1 year later to do a wine production. So, and then we start to work to a lot of small producers and big producers in the UK, and then to learn how to make wine. So we start to buy grapes and then make our own wine. And then eventually we start to plant our vineyard. We start to bring everything to the side. We have our lab. Both of us are qualified winemakers, viticulturists, and we have chemistry background as well now. And then we just release our wines, and yes, pretty much what we start.
Yeah. So my journey was a little different, and probably started a little bit earlier. I mean, I worked in Beaune in the summer holidays, and I used to work at an English pub, which was a bit of a heresy, but it was a bit like the United Nations in Beaune, where all the winemakers used to come along, because they were very competitive. In the English pub, and it was like a free zone, and it was a lot of fun there. And when I was there, I mean, I used to go up to all the parties in the hills around Burgundy, and I started to like wine, but I hadn't yet had my sort of Damascene moment. But that actually came one day when I'd just actually been dumped by a girlfriend, which is lucky because otherwise I wouldn't have met my lovely wife now. And I was moping around the pub when one of the winemakers came into the pub, and he came up to me and he's like, "Nick, what is the matter with you? You look pretty sad." I said, "Well, look, explain to him what had happened with the woman," and he said, "But this is France. You could find a lovely French girl. Well, why are you so worried?" And I said, "Well, look, this isn't really helping." He said, "Well,
it's too soon.
I'll do something for you." He said, "You're going to remember this day only for what I'm going to bring back for you." So he trundled off down the road, and then he came back later, about half an hour later, with a bottle, and he was cradling the bottle like a baby. It was a very kind of dusty bottle that had obviously come from the bottom of some deep and dark cellar. And he told me that he'd made this with his father 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was, unlabeled wine. To this day, I still don't know what he gave me. Anyway, we opened it, we let it breathe for a bit, and he poured it out into the glasses that were sitting on the counter. And that was the moment at which I had my Damascene moment. I could actually smell the earth and the terroir of the vineyard in the wine. It had, amazing sort of, primary, secondary and tertiary aromas. And it was just amazing. And I looked at him and he looked at me. And that was the moment I knew that I was absolutely hooked on wine. And then that was the beginning of the journey. But like America, when we were obviously in Switzerland, we used to spend a lot of time in the Jura. I'd gone to lots of other vineyards around the world, in South Africa, etc., in Argentina. And then when we decided to come back to the UK, we were looking for a house in the Kent and Sussex border, which was kind of near to where I'd been brought up, and we wanted our daughter to have some of the same experiences that I'd had here. And I came and I found this, wonderful oast house in the middle of the countryside, just over the border from Kent in Sussex. I met with the farmer who owned it, and I came in to buy a house, and I walked away with a farm. Absolutely fallen in love with it. But at that stage, we had no idea that we were actually going to plant grapes. So we put it down to pasture. We wanted some, kind of soil recovery, because part of the farm had been quite intensively farmed, arable farm. The parts that we actually planted to vines eventually were used for pasture. So they actually, the soils were still pretty good. And we did that, and then we found out that our neighbors were, as America said, were planting vines, had been growing vines for about 5 or 6 years. The soil, the terroir was amazing. We obviously then went to Plumpton, found out, we did the soil analysis, we realized that we were sitting on, great soil, great environment, great microclimate. This actually used to be Guinness hop farm. So whatever was working for the hops clearly was working for the vines as well. And then we decided to plant. So there was no sort of, we didn't go around surveying land, trying to find the perfect land. We just were quite lucky.
Yeah, it was by chance.
It was by chance. Yeah. And one thing led to another. And then we planted the vineyard, built the winery, started making our wine here, and went through the whole process of, do we make our own wine? And then we decided, yes, we have the technology, we know how to do it. And we just got on with it. And, in the first year that we made wine, we're very lucky that our Chardonnay that America, without telling me, sent off a competition, and it won kind of best still wine, the IEWA.
Yeah. So. We again, is the good thing about here is we know that, but we only knew that, get to know that when we actually was in the college, because we didn't know that. For example, to plant a vineyard, you have to have a pH of 6.5. You have to have boron, you have to have magnesium, manganese, have to be salt facing, you have to have a proper aspect, you have to have a microclimate. And then all these things we didn't know, we thought that we just have the fields.
Yeah, because I remember when we were coming back, like, well, which direction are our fields pointing? It's like,
yeah, and then I pick it up. What we did that moment, I bought where the is a
weather monitor.
A monitor. So I went to next door neighbor and said, can I put 2 monitors here and 2 monitors in my field to find out if any difference? And they said, no, you can't. So I was there calculating everything with the computer, and they said, we have amazing soil, and everything was growing. And we said, look, we can do our own vineyard. And then, but why? Because we are sustainable here. We just got Chris Foss coming to visit me yesterday, because we are wanting to be sustainable scheme. We are about to have our auditory here at the moment. So because we want to get the seal on our bottle. So I'm just like very into that. We just realized that I've been to a lot of places, and so Nick, that we have the vineyard and then the winemaker is miles away, or you have the, they send the thing to the lab, it's not there. We decided, to have amazing wine, you have to have amazing grapes. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good wine. So why don't you start from the beginning to make sure that every single thing that's coming to the winery is perfect? So we're going to harvest, everything is hand harvest. We do integration pest management here. So one time, for example, we are beekeepers now, aren't we, Nick?
Yeah, you're a beekeeper.
I'm a new beekeeper. The behavior of the bee depends on the queen. If the queen is nice, whole harvest is nice, so don't worry.
Right.
So
that couldn't be true, right?
It is true. So then what happened is we find out that we in the environment that you have, we also have grain eagles that is just 10 minutes from us that make the cricket bat. So we have a nursery on the back as well, from the cricket-backed willows. We have we pick it up, we made a glamping area, we put up the hobbit house, and then you put Avalon Waterside Lodge. So our idea was people actually get to learn a little bit about viticulture, everything from hand harvest, how to do it properly, and then they can stay and enjoy and have experience in the vineyard. So we associate it with hospitality as well, and then a little bit of knowledge. So people come, they understand everything. And if you do come into a vineyard tour with me, if I'm a harvester, that's it, let's go and harvest. You're doing a vineyard tour, right? Oh, let's tackle in. You came to learn.
You're right. So, I mean, it's the wine is at the center of everything that we do, and in order to make good wine, we need grapes.
Yeah.
But wine experiences is something also that we want to share with people, and we think it's quite important. And that association is also about having contact with the owners, the winemakers, and so we do sort of make ourselves available on site to talk to people most of the time.
Yeah, and then if, for example, having a vineyard that's basically, I will maybe later show you, but our vineyard is actually here. It's 5 meters.
Right, it's right in front of the
winery. So we reduce the carbon footprint there. From the lab, you can see the vineyard as well. People passing by, they can see us work in the lab. From the tasting room, you can see the winery downstairs. We have full production open up, so people actually know what's going on here. So yes, and then we're thinking more about making to England a wine country, so people can get that knowledge and get that grow with that. But probably in 20 years' time, it's going to be like when you go to Champagne or go to Sonoma, people go for wine town, wine village.
Yeah, and for wine experiences. And you know, in terms of the philosophy that we have here, the philosophy is, as America said in the vineyard, it's minimal intervention. Similar in the winery as well. And we make limited batches. So we don't make huge volumes of individual wines. You know, when it's gone, it's gone. And what we like to do is to, you know, have different batches with slightly different edge upon them. And so we've come up with a number of kind of different wines. And I think as we go forward, we'll be starting to make, you know, not just one Chardonnay, but a number of different Chardonnays in particular styles, but in limited batches.
Yeah, other thing that we are into is people that actually sell our wine, or people that represent us. Will be a restaurant, or will be a wine like a bar, or like you guys, have to be somebody that share the same principle: high quality, good knowledge, engage to the public, teach people, share experience.
We like to build a relationship also with our, you know, with our suppliers. So we don't distribute, we don't have a distributor, but there's a reason behind that. We want to have a relationship with our customers.
I think that's the perfect way to try some wines.
Yeah, no time. Okay, all right. So I think we're gonna.
No, go for
Start with.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to start with our Pinot Blanc. You want to introduce our Pinot Blanc, Mecca?
So, Guy, you already have our Pinot Blanc there as well. So basically, the Pinot Blanc, where is the Pinot Blanc? There. So the Pinot Blanc down here.
Right, okay, so should we try it, Mecca?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I going to get some too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good.
So just before we dive into it, actually, can you tell me about your logo? Because you've got Oastbrook, and then is that a bird? Am I guessing?
No. The Oastbrook is actually, it's the cow from the top of the Oast House.
So let's see. Can you see the logo?
Yeah.
Yes. So sorry. Say that again.
Can you see the logo?
So yeah. So the logo is the cow from the top of the Oast House.
Oh, okay.
So right on the top. So it's the cow, just for those of you perhaps out there who don't know what an Oast House is, it was used traditionally for the drying of hops, and the cow is the airflow that comes in from the top, and it moves around on an axle, and it sits on the top of all the Oast Houses that you see in Kent and Sussex, and I believe also Worcestershire as well.
Right. Okay.
So the cow has that iconic. It's like iconic shape. When you are passing, like you visit the area, you're gonna see a lot of host houses. There is they have that. It looks like a Cinderella castle, to be honest with you. And then on the top of the Cinderella castle, you have that iconic shape, that change. And then on the side, they have a little bit of how are we gonna say that?
It's a crossbar. So on the crossbar, you usually have an insignia. So for example, in Kent, you'll often see the Invicta. But because we spent quite a lot of time in Asia, we have a phoenix, we have a dragon,
and a shilling.
And a shilling, which is like a Chinese unicorn.
Yes,
and so it's a bit different.
And inside here, you have the roses. Also on the back of the label, you have roses, because we are in England, and then what represents England is the rose.
British
so
rose, yeah.
Making English wine, so we have an English rose there as well.
Thank you. Those are nice touches. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so go for the wine. Let's go.
Okay, so on here you have our Pinot Blanc that you can see is quite aromatic. The color is lemon, like not that medium lemon, not that pale lemon. The wine is quite rich. It's due to the soil. Our soil is quite rich. We have clay, silt, and sandstone here, and on top of sandstone rich. And then as we are in parallel 51, so the equator line, you get more exposure to the sunlight in summertime. So you will have on this wine a little bit of that taste of pear. You have a little bit of apple there as well. You do have a little bit of melon, like watermelon on the taste as well. So also you get a little bit of honeysuckle coming up to there. Some people say that they do smell like stone fruits on there as well. So depending on the person that actually is tasting it. But the wine actually is a full body wine, has a long finish. As you drink it, on the palate, is smooth, is soft. Acid is coming around, as is round, have that like a velvet aftertaste. This wine is 0% dosage, so it's 100% Pinot Blanc, has not been added any sugar at all, but because it's quite rich in fruit, we harvest quite late, you will have a lot of fruit aromas, and then you think that I have a little bit of sugar on that, but actually no, it's a pure 100% Pinot Blanc, zero dosage.
Yeah, we've talked to a number of people, and they've said to us that I think it is the aromas of the wine and the texture which give it this almost natural sweetness, but has no sugar in there.
Yeah.
I think your tasting note of honeysuckle was spot on, and it surprised me actually. I wasn't expecting that, but it really was, because what's nice about it is you've still got this nice backbone of acidity, so it's not too cloying. I mean, it's not going to be a sweet wine, obviously, but it really hit the nail on the head there. Honeysuckle's lovely, but with the backing up of citrus, it still retains some edge. It's got definition. I mean, I do think that's key to English wines, is crisp acidity, and I relate that to wine having definition, because you want it to be defining and not too muddled, excuse me. So yeah, this is a really nice wine. As I say, lots of citrus, nice balance of fruit in there, but the honeysuckle was a real surprise, and a good one as well.
Yeah, I mean, as a Pinot Blanc, I think it is quite exciting, and I think again what we've done with some of our wines is we went quite far afield to find clones that were going to give us that kind of richness with our soil here. So these are Alsatian clones that we're using for our Pinot Blanc.
And it's good. There's also the it's again going back to the citrus, but it's a bit more like the orange peel and the lemon zest, and I mean it's really nice to have that in the wine, because it's giving it a lot more texture and a lot more dimension. To be a good food pairing wine as well.
Yes, I mean we have a lot of local restaurants around us have sort of taken the Pinot Blanc, and they like it because you've actually, as you said, you've got that texture, but you have the natural acidity, which goes, and obviously zero dosage as well, which goes very well, certainly with kind of foods with higher levels of kinds of fat in them, things like duck, also very, very good with fish.
Yeah, and this is definitely a wine I think to enjoy young. You know, it's a good fresh wine to have, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so move on to the next one.
All right. Okay. So what are we going to try next, Mecca? We're going to try the Pinot Meunier.
Yes.
Now this is a very interesting wine.
So that's the Pinot Meunier. Also, we are having 100% Pinot Meunier. So Pinot Meunier is a black variety, so red black variety that we actually make it into white wine. So basically, is a white wine made with black grapes.
Yeah. So what we've done with this wine is, and I've tried obviously Pinot Meuniers, red Pinot Meuniers before. and I've tried white Pinot Meuniers, but in the English climate, particularly on the soil types that we've actually got here, we have a wine which really, I think, comes into its own. You've got obviously natural levels of acidity, but America, if you want to talk us through.
So a Pinot Meunier wine, so basically you're gonna have, imagine that you when you drink this sparkling wine, and then you have that a little bit of black fruits, like black currants there, because to make a sparkling Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, Chardonnay, but that black currant, black fruit, if you have like black currants as well, a little bit of blackberries. So all this floral as well is coming from not the Pinot Noir or the Chardonnay, but you come to incorporate more from the Pinot Meunier. So if the soil is good, weather is good, we can make actually a wine that's richer into a white wine. So basically, some people decide to make red Pinot Meunier, but we decide to make it into white wine. So what we had in this wine, we have a very, very light press. We press the wine the same as you press when you're going to go to make a sparkling, traditional method or champagne method. We have a very low press, like we got the cuvée as well. We got the first press, the most beautiful, without any disease, because we don't have disease here anyway, so the wine is so good. And then what we're coming up with, we come up with one wine that was like rich, and then you have that, that's like, if you open your eyes, it's quite difficult to identify it because your brain is tricking you. You say, oh, it's a white wine, but why am I going to get some black grapes there, black varieties? Why I'm getting this like a little bit aroma that is not from the white. So you actually don't identify the wine.
What we actually find with a lot of people is that if they find it difficult to identify this wine, but once they close their eyes, they can actually start to smell the red fruits. And it's at that point that to be able to identify what it is.
So the wine as well is a very well balanced there. It has that acidity coming up, but you have a little bit of residual sugar. You can see that you have the percentage alcohol in this wine is 12%. The wine is creamy, and you will get those aromas of like summer berries, like blackberries, black currants come on the side, a little bit of flowers. You know, when you come walking on the field and you say, oh, they smell fruits, you get those smell. The smell in this case witness the palate. You smell the red and you can feel the like black currants coming up a little bit on the back with a little bit of acidity showing up.
But I think the thing that's really surprising about this wine is although there is the undercurrent of acidity, it has a very, very creamy, rich palate to it. And you know that is something, you know, as you pull in all those fruity aromas and then you move on to the palate, you have this sort of lovely balance of cream and acidity, which, you know, kind of leads to a kind of very kind of rich, warm mouthfeel to it, and it drifts down your throat. I mean, it's
basically this wine is different. It's very rare. I've been to send to some critics, and they were like, "Wow, that is the best Pinot Meunier that I ever tried in my life." I'm convinced now that I'm gonna have Pinot Meunier, and then also we managed to white wine, clear white, and it's just the experience that you have when you manage to get a bottle. Last year we made very few bottles, sold out in 2 months. So this year we released it, but again, we only released for some people. For example, you can sell it, people can buy it here, can come to the site. Only one restaurant in the country is selling that wine at the moment, because we are limiting to amount of people that you actually want to represent this wine for us. And then it's just like an explosion of nice experience that you never tried before.
Well, I think, you know, this was very much an experiment last year, but we were very happy with the way it came out.
Yes, so here in Oastbrook, we want to do some experiment. We want people to actually understand the grapes itself, a pure 100% variety, pure 100% of a plot.
So they're all we're doing is single varietal wines. Okay.
Well, I'm really pleased you tried to explore this or gone down this route. I think this is great. Really threw me, actually. I wasn't sure what to expect. But it's interesting how, obviously, with it being a white wine, you still got some of the black fruit in there, you know, from the actual grape variety. So this is really nice, very pleasing. Moorish again, nice mouthfeel, but a really well balanced of fruit. And it's just a very pleasing, easy drinking wine. So yeah, no, good work on this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as you say, you've got your bottle numbers, haven't you, on the front there? Okay, bottles.
Yes. Yeah. So again, all of these are on kind of limited release at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I sent it to one of well-known critics in the UK, he just described it. He said, look, I was on the table trying some Poligny Monchapé, some French wine, some Australian wine, and then I heard somebody shout, wow, this is the best wine of the day. And I was like, gosh, of course I cried, because, you know, for me it was a surprise. He was comparing it to wines on the table, like Poligny Monchapé, some very high-end wines, and expect somebody to actually recognize the wine is for us.
Well, I think he was very proud then to announce to his surrounding audience that it was an English wine. And actually, I think it was the cheapest one on the table.
Yeah, it was the cheapest one on the table.
Oh, good work. That's great news.